All right. All right, here we go. Hopefully everybody can see. There we go. All right. Let's.
Oh, it ended, correct?
What'd you say?
Your stream ended.
I ended it. See if this other one is pulled up. Because I think it's showing that it's live, at least right now.
Hold on, I'm getting into jungle practice real quick.
Nigga, what are you doing?
This shit is so cool, dude. I'm fucking with the fucking item I told you about, the physical one.
Mm-hmm.
So goofy. It doesn't proc on ultimate triggering things, only regular ability. Where the fuck is this one? Does it build off staff tree? Oh, there it is. Wait, why did I... How is this gonna work?
Okay.
How do I do that?
All right. So I'm just gonna wait for a few more people to pull in. Okay, we'll see. Oh, we got 4 viewers. All right, that's good.
Did you send a new link?
Yeah. I did. So
Okay.
what are you gonna do? Are you gonna announce anything? Because they can hear your audio.
Right now?
Yeah. If it's picking
Oh.
up my Discord audio, it should be picking you up.
I wasn't planning on it.
Well,
I can.
I mean, it's up to you. I mean, well, you can't see the slideshow, so
I'm good.
all right, get the fuck out or mute yourself. I'm just kidding. Oh, all right, 5 viewers. I'm probably gonna post it one more time. And wait, is this using my display cap, my window capture? Hmm. Just all right. Let's see, 5 viewers. So, all right. I guess we'll get started. Actually, get started now. Um, and obviously, anybody who didn't catch it live or may join late, the VOD will be available later. So, that being said, Welcome everybody to the SADL Season 1 Awards. I'm super excited. This was something I was really excited about as the season drew to a near. Something I was, it's a way to bring the community together and commemorate everybody, um, because it's about you guys. It's about the coaches who are watching. Without y'all, this league would have never happened, right? Obviously, I could have done all the setup, and me and the other commissioners as well. They helped out a lot, obviously, with the setup. We could have done all of that, and if nobody came and actually played, um, none of it would have happened. So I'm truly grateful for y'all for participating in the first season of the SADL. Hopefully, a lot of y'all will return for season 2. And I just wanted to say that before we started the award ceremony. This is here to celebrate you guys and your accomplishments throughout the season, as well as my own. And it's just supposed to be a good time, bring the community together. So, with that being said, I'm going to continue. We'll move on with the award ceremony. So, it's a very simple PowerPoint. I'm not good with graphics and stuff like that. So I just did a very simple PowerPoint to kind of just show off everything. So our very first slide, we have a recap of all of our Pokemon of the week winners. Week 1, we had Latios of the Dewey Duwats. Our very first match of the SADL. This was the very first match ever played in the SADL. Latios ended up, I think, with a five Pokemon sweep. So that was a crazy match for our first ever game played at the SADL. Week 2, Annihilate with the Diamond Defenders had a crazy week. I remember that game very distinctly because it was just like an unkillable monster, and it just kind of completely blew through the opponent's team and just cracked it wide open for a win for Vanny that week. Week 3, Enamorous Incarnate, a lead 6-0, unfortunately against one of our co-commissioners. It's Titan, but that was a crazy good match, a crazy good performance that week. Week 4, Zapdos. Personally, my team, the Baltimore Bullet Punches, had a huge just outlasted the opponent, dropped a few kills, and basically just went the extra mile to ensure the victory. Week 5, Toxapex of the Chicago Toros. Uh, I think I'm trying to remember specifically this match. I know it was really big, basically just couldn't be killed. I think it stalled out a bunch of the opposing team's Pokemon. Week 6, Baxcalibur. This was the week it had the reverse sweep, down 6-2, gets a scale shot off and just wins the game. Week 7, Chin Pao, I believe, had a 6-0 this week. Not off lead or anything like that, but had a big game, set up a Swords Dance, just clean the enemy team. And Polion for week 8, the Turin Trevens clinching one of their, I don't think this was their first win of the season, but a very crucial win that they needed to stay alive in the playoff race. Um, Went crazy, had a few kills, phased out a bunch of Pokemon, had toxic spikes up, so it was stacking up toxic spikes, toxic on the opposing enemy's team. So that was a big, huge week for that Pokemon. Week 9, Gouging Fire. This was a very unfortunate week for Jake. One of the matches that kind of helped push him out of the playoffs, unfortunately, and Gouging Fire just tore through his team. I think it dropped 4 or 5 kills that week. And then week 10, Girder, yours truly, had a pretty big week. I think picked up 3 kills, and even managed to pick up a KO on Chin Pao. So a big week for Girder that week. So that's just recapping all of the Pokemon of the week winners for all 10 weeks of the SADL. Obviously, we voted on them every week. So that's just a quick acknowledgement to that in case some of you guys forgot. Because I don't think I had a public document for it. So you'd have to either remember it or go back and look at the polls, which are all in chat. So obviously very hard to find. So that being said, we'll actually move on to our awards, and the first category is MVP, Most Valuable Pokemon. I thought about sticking this at the end because it's kind of the big award that everybody looking forward to, but I just put it first and get it out of the way. This was a tight race, decided by one vote. Literally, I think it was 4. Each Pokemon had 4 votes, and then we needed one more vote to decide it. Because there are 13 votes, 13 total ballots that were submitted. So, Primarina, the Baltimore Bullet Punches, I can speak personally about this Pokemon. It was my personal MVP 100%. Was great throughout the year. Had several big games. Defensively, it was amazing. Offensively, it was amazing. Excadrill, the Dewey Duwats. Also, another Pokemon that had like two or three really big games this season, tied number one for kill leader this season with 15 kills on the season. And then Tinglu, the New York Munchlax, a great defensive Pokemon, had a lot of utility, had a lot of offensive presence, had a huge impact this year for Manny and the New York Munchlax. So these were your three finalists for the MVP, most valuable Pokemon, and your season one SADL season one most valuable Pokemon is Tinglu of the New York Munchlax. And honestly, like I said, this is going to be a close race. I personally expected, and maybe there's some bias involved, Primarina to come out on top because I felt like Primarina did very well. But I'm not surprised Tinglu won because week one it had a great week, even in a loss. I remember that game very distinctly, and just showed up several times throughout the season in very key matchups for Manny. He didn't even bring it a lot either, so it's kind of crazy. I think maybe like 7 or 8 matches he brought it. So not he didn't even bring it every week, and it still had that much impact. And it would have had that like its numbers were already pretty high and pretty good. It probably would have had much better numbers if he brought it more often. So congratulations to Manny for utilizing his Pokemon well, and the New York Munchlax obviously for having this very important Pokemon on their team had a lot of success. So moving on to our next category, we have best offensive Pokemon. Obviously, category for the Pokemon that it is the best offensively. Yeah, whether that be kills, offensive pressure, whatever it may be. Our nominees were Chien Pao, the New York Munchlax, one of the Pokemon that tied for kill leader with Excadrill at 15. Dragapult of the Baltimore Bullet Punches was mainly my main offensive weapon this season. I had a lot of pressure, a lot of versatility. And then Baxcalibur, the Dewey Duwats, not Excadrill didn't get enough votes. Obviously, it was MVP, but Baxcalibur obviously offensively was a monster. Had several huge weeks. I think it had 12 kills on the season, 12 or 13 kills, can't remember exactly, but was a huge offensive monster for that team as well. Basically, its main form of damage outside of Excadrill. So 3 teams have, interestingly enough, have taken all the nominations for the first 2 awards, but these were the first 3 seeds. So it's not that surprising. And obviously, you guys nominated them, so you know can't be too mad about that if you voted for them yourself. Not saying everybody voted for them, but you get what I'm saying. So with that being said, the winner SADL Season One Best Offensive Pokemon is Chin Pao of the New York Munchlax. So Manny and the New York Munchlax already claiming 2 award winners. Pretty crazy, but obviously had a great season. And like I said, Chin Pao tied for the kill leader. Very impactful Pokemon. Basically, when Tinglu wasn't putting in work, Chin Pao was right behind it, doing the picking up the slack. Obviously, like earlier we saw in the Pokemon of the week, it had a huge week with a 6-0, 6-0 kill streak. I think had another week where it dropped like 2 or 3 kills, and a few more weeks where it's just having big impact. Obviously, it's a very dangerous Pokemon. It's a Pokemon that's hard to prep for. So, very well deserved of this. I can't argue with this. I think this is actually who I voted for. Um, so, it wasn't even a very close race at all. I think it won. I think it had like 7 or 8 votes. So, very big win. Two New York Munchlax already on this list. So moving on to our next category, we have best defensive Pokemon. Obviously, for Pokemon that have a huge impact defensively, eating hits, checking certain Pokemon defensively, etc., etc. So our first nominee, and I see that I actually misspelled it, Corviknight of the Dewey Duwats. Very important Pokemon this season. Had a few kills, I think like 8. On top of that, was just a defensive stalwart. Several matchups it came in clutch. I remember specifically when the Dewey Duwats played the Washington Wishmakers. That thing just couldn't die. It was on the verge of just stalling out so many turns. It was so important for pivoting and positioning for Vortex in that game. So obviously, a huge component of his success this season. Next nominee was Zapdos of the Baltimore Bullet Punches, and I can say personally, yes, this Pokemon was very important to me. It was obviously a Pokemon of the Week winner because of its defensive prowess. Several matchups, it was just so important to checking multiple of my opponent's Pokemon, and it did it very well. Had a few kills throughout the season. Had some matches where just seemingly wouldn't die and was spreading paralysis and pivoting in and out and stuff like that. Doing important groundwork I needed it to do. And then we have a new team represented here, Bastiodon, the House of Mouse. Not there's not I think everybody knows what this Pokemon did this season. Um, some matches it was just unkillable. Um, running a lot of the same set, but that set was so effective in so many matches this season. And so I'm not surprised to see it here at all. Phenomenal both offensively and defensively, and using its defensive prowess to be an offensive juggernaut. Being able to use that body press effectively. So with that being said, the winner of SADL Season 1, Best Defensive Pokemon, is going to go to Zapdos of the Baltimore Bullet Punches. Um, Obviously, I voted for this. I voted voted for my own Pokemon this time. No shame in that. Um, and yeah, I mean, I think this Pokemon was great. Personally, I can speak for myself how important it was to me and so many matchups. I mean, I brought it most weeks. I know the last couple of, I think week 10, I don't think I brought it. But obviously, some weeks it was better, some weeks it was worse, but was showed up in every match and usually was impacting the game in some way. A huge component of my team and one of my better Pokemon this season. So, moving on to our next category, we have best support Pokemon. Obviously, for Pokemon that have their success in supporting their teammates, hazards, screens, um, wish support, stuff like that, status, spreading stuff like that, weather, even doing things like that to impact their team in a different way other than just, hey, killing Pokemon, eating hits. You get the idea. Our nominees, Alola Ninetales of the Dewey Duats. Not a surprise here. This was a very key Pokemon to the strategy of this team going throughout the season, being able to set up that snow and that Aurora Veil, enabling um, Baxcalibur and even Latios in some matches. Even played a big part in a game with Corviknight. So was a key central figure to a lot of their strategies. And obviously setting up that Aurora Veil was all its needs as well. But, also running things like Encore and stuff like that. Our next nominee is Fortress of the Anchorage Beartics. And personally, I absolutely loved the way Wumples used this Pokemon this season. It was really good in a lot of matches, just getting up all sorts of hazards. He positioned it correctly so it would stay on the field and get what it needed to be done. Was even very creative with some of the sets. I know he ran like Assault Vest one week, which was kind of crazy. And he implemented and used this Pokemon extremely well. Did a great job this season. And then Deoxys Speed from the House of Mouse. This Pokemon kind of teetered that line a little bit. Some weeks it was offensive, some weeks it was more support. But we saw a lot of the support as well. Fast taunt, fast hazards. Even saw a pain split set one week to help just wear down the opponent. And I think it was great utilization by Yeehaw this week. This season with this Deoxys speed, being able to just use the versatility and find ways to have big impact in his games. Some weeks it was really, really good. Most weeks he brought it actually had an impact in some way, and I think it was a really good Pokemon this season. Uh, it was actually the first overall pick in the SADL Season 1 draft. With that being said, your Season 1 SADL Season 1, sorry, SADL Season 1 Best Support Pokemon winner is Alola Ninetales of the Dewey Duwats. I kind of saw this coming. This was probably the one of the support Pokemons that had the most use throughout the season. I know it was brought in a lot of weeks and it had a lot of impact. That Alola Ninetales Baxcalibur combo is pretty disgusting. It can be straight up hard to stop sometimes. Makes Baxcalibur extremely tanky and just an absolute beast. So, not surprising to see this winner here. Um, it was a great pickup by the Dewey Duwats. So, moving on to our best coach category. Um, our nominees are myself, Storm, the Baltimore Bullet Punches, obviously finished number one in the rankings. Um, Made it to finals. I'm not going to spoil the outcome of finals because I have yet to upload my finals video, but made it to finals and I had a great season. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. Finished with the highest differential as well, so not surprised to see myself up there. Not trying to brag, but statistically speaking. Then we have Fiery Vortex, coach of the Dewey Duwats. Obviously, had a great season as well. 9-1, finished with a very high differential. Had a great season. Had several key wins, big wins throughout the season. Big moments, just crazy good moments and played successfully, played very well, made it to made it to playoffs, obviously. Um, and then our third nominee is Yeehaw Ha Yee, coach of the House of Mouse, and probably by far one of the most creative coaches we have, if not the most creative coach. Somebody who I think just week after week would come in and you didn't know what was coming. Like when I played him, I think I had a pretty good match against him, but even then he had some stuff, and I was like, hey, that's that caught me off guard, or hey, if maybe the positioning in the match was better, that could have had a bigger impact. So definitely one of the greater minds, I think, when it comes to just the sheer level of genius that came out in some of those sets and some of those weeks. And he definitely earned a nomination on this spot. I think finished with the fourth seed, if I remember correctly. So not the highest seed in the playoffs, but still was a phenomenal coach this season. Big respect to him. And your winner of the SADL Season 1 Best Coach is me. I don't know what to say because I don't want to seem like I'm bragging. But I did pretty well this season. I finished top of the rankings, made finals. So I'm not, don't I don't want to talk too much on this because I don't want to seem like I'm bragging. But you voted for it, guys. I appreciate you guys. I'll use it. I'll use this to be, I guess, thankful, for you guys for recognizing that. Obviously, this was decided by my peers, my fellow coaches who participated in the league, and as I said, I'm extremely grateful for your guys' participation in this league. Um, and I appreciate it greatly that you guys would vote me up here. Um, Thank you very much. I appreciate that greatly. I've put in a lot of work this season, not just on the playing end, but on the management end, and being able to balance it all and have a successful season. I appreciate you guys for recognizing that. So thank you. Game of the season. Uh, our three nominees are the Washington Wishmakers versus New Jersey Jinx, a very, very, very important match at the end of the season. Jake needed to win this match to have a chance at playoffs. And unfortunately, Brady brought not just crazy good prep, but all of the hacks in the world to destroy Jake. This was honestly, I personally didn't vote for this match because I love clean matches. I don't like hacksy matches. I like matches where it's skill. And I'm not saying that to discount Brady. He obviously did a huge favor for us stepping in this season, not halfway through the season, very early in the season to take over a spot for a coach that unfortunately had to drop out due to some medical issues. Um, and he did pretty good. He was put in a tough situation, not having to draft his own team. That kind of gets in your head because you don't know what the strategy behind the team is exactly. So you're kind of like, well, I'll just have to pick up the pieces and kind of move. And he did pretty well. Had some pretty good weeks. Some weeks that were close, some weeks that he won. It was obviously one of the better weeks he had. I think he played exceptionally well, but also a very hacksy match that had a huge impact on Jake's season. Our next nominee is Chicago Toros versus the Dewey Duots. That is incorrect. Sorry about this, guys. That's supposed to be Chicago Toros versus New York Munchlax. I didn't proofread my work. Apologize. That is supposed to be New York Munchlax. This was a pretty big match because the Chicago Toros needed to win this match to stay in the playoffs, playoff contention. And they had against the New York Munchlax, I believe at this time were a one loss team, hadn't lost since week one. So I think going to this match they were a 6-1 team. And obviously Manny is a great coach, phenomenal coach. Had an amazing season, as you can see by some of the awards that he had at the beginning. And Tanner just kind of went crazy. Played stuck to his guns, played his strategy, and came out on top. And was as an underdog story. It was definitely a match that most people were expecting to go the other way, and Tanner flipped the script on him and had a big win. Sorry for the typo there. I thought I proofread all my stuff. But anyways, yeah, this was Chicago Tourists versus New York Munchlax, but that was a big win for Tanner on the season. Our next nominee is the Minnesota Glow Kings versus Dewey Duwats. This was an exciting match. I was like borderline shaking watching this match. This was the 6-2 Baxcalibur comeback. Basically, it was a rough match early for Vortex got down pretty early and was basically just in a bad spot and was needing his win con to pull through. And fortunately, Baxcalibur was him this week, this particular game, and came through and claimed all 6 kills for a victory for the Dewey Duwats to stay. I believe they remain, to stay undefeated and going into this week and coming out of the week. So big. That was a very fun match to watch as well. All these matches were super close and super entertaining, even if they were a little hacksy. But anyways, your SADL season 1 game of the season is Minnesota Glow Kings versus Dewey Dots. As you can see right here, we have the screenshot from the beginning of the match. And yeah, this back's caliber right here, I'm going to move my cursor or my mouse so you can see it. This back's caliber in the back and just showed up and went crazy. Did what it needed to do to win. Which is just hit scale, shot, and earthquake. But phenomenal week. Um, phenomenal game. Definitely one of the best games I think all season for sure. This was also actually this was a very close race. I do remember this race though because this was once again a 3-way tie with 4 votes apiece, and we needed a tiebreaker. And fortunately, we got that tiebreaker, and it went the way of the Minnesota Glow Kings versus Dewey Duwat's Week 6 match. Very important game for both of these teams to play in the playoffs. They met in the playoffs as well. Board Addict got his revenge. So I guess at the end of the day, who has the laugh last. But nonetheless, this is by far the best regular season game, in my opinion. I say by far is a pretty close margin. Some of those other games, they're very exciting. Anyways, well deserved award though for game of the week or game of the season. Moving on, we have our next category, which is Best Terra Captains. Our nominees are Bastiodon, the House of Mouse. This Pokemon, like I said, we talked about it enough in Best Defensive Pokemon. This mon went crazy. Terra Fighting Body Press just destroyed so many teams. It was hard to prepare for on a lot of ends. I mean, I don't know what else to say about it. Y'all definitely have seen this Pokemon go crazy if you've been keeping up with the league or if you're one of the coaches. Our next nominee is Espeon of the Washington Wishmakers. This Pokemon had a very strong start to the season and kind of tapered off towards the end. It was brought a few more times, and I think it had some decent matchups, but unfortunately couldn't get a lot done. Nonetheless, was still a very one of the more standout Terra captains in the season. Um, our next nominee is Kilowattrel of the King City Kingdras, one of the bright spots on this team that unfortunately had some issues due to once again another coach who unfortunately had to sit out the part of the season and had some forfeits as well. So this team unfortunately didn't get to play a lot due to those issues, and obviously I wish everybody involved with that well. So unfortunate on that end, but Kilowattrel was one of the bright spots on that team. Uh, Terra Fairy, Terra Ice, I think Terra Electric or Terra Flying. Can't remember all the Terra types, but nonetheless was phenomenal. Played extremely was helped get some wins, helped get some have an impact on the team in the best way it could. So those are your nominees for Best Terra Captain, and your SADL Season 1 Best Terra Captain winner is, to no one's surprise, Bastiodon of the House of Mouse. This Pokemon was crazy. This was like the MVP for Yeehaw by far. I think it had 12 or 13 kills on the season, so one of the higher kill counts as well. Coming from a tier 6 Pokemon that just basically spanned body press. But hey, he made it work. Did well. Is a phenomenal Pokemon. And by far, yes, the wasn't unanimous. I think there was like maybe 1 or 2 votes that went to another Pokemon. Unfortunately, I thought it should be unanimous, but it was not unanimous. Either way, won by a pretty large margin. Though I think it had like 11 votes. So, yes, Bastiodon, Terra Captain of the season for sure. Not, no, like I said, not surprising by anybody. Our next category, though, is our best low tier non Terra. And this is, of course, for low tier Pokemon that are not Terra Captains. So your nominees are Cryogonal of the House of Mouse. This was kind of a very important Pokemon for Yeehaw throughout the season because it was one of his only hazard removers. I mean, it did its job. I mean, it showed up. It had some matches where it did really, really good. Kind of caught people off guard. An important part of that team, no doubt. For a low tier Pokemon. Next nominee is Girder, the Baltimore Bullet Punches. I only brought this a few weeks, but every week it showed up. It did something pretty good. I think definitely one of the better Pokemon on my team. as far as for value, should I say? Um, so I enjoyed I enjoyed it. I wanted to use it a lot because I thought it was pretty cool. So our next nominee is Indeedee Female of the Dewey Duots. This was another Pokemon that we saw a few weeks and had a pretty big impact in a lot of the games that showed up. And blocking that priority is a huge deal for a lot of teams who rely on priority or want to use priority strats. And just having something that basically says nope, you can't do that for 5 or 8 turns, depending on whether it's using Terrain Extender or not. Very impactful for a low tier Pokemon. One of the best things about these low tier Pokemon, especially these non Terra captains, is how much value they can bring because you're looking at, not a lot of great Pokemon down there. And you're basically saying, well, I can just use this. And if I bring it one or two, 2 or 3 games, then it has a huge impact. That's well worth what I, got out of it. So, all these Pokemon were, phenomenal for what for their value. And your best low tier Pokemon non Terra winner for SADL Season 1 is Cryogonal of the House of Mouse. I wasn't surprised. I think this was like one of the ones that was brought the most. So it definitely had the most overall impact, even if it didn't have like, a game or two where it just went nuts and it kind of was just there. But it got its job done, was rapid spinning it up. Was freeze drying it up. Even had like a match where it got like I think 2 Ice Shard kills, which is kind of crazy. So very well utilized. Obviously, as I said before, Yeehaw is one of the most creative coaches in our league by far. So for him to, come in week by week and just play great and use, some of these Pokemon that were low tier or that were kind of underrated or kind of slept on and just have success with them is I think, a huge testament to his capabilities as a coach. So Gragonol is your best low tier non Terra Pokemon for the SADL Season 1. Our next category is most creative set. And yeah, this is basically just looking for sets that are eye catching, catch you off guard. And this is what draft is all about. One of the essences of draft is being creative, catching your opponent off guard, um, doing things that they won't expect, and utilizing all the potential of your Pokemon, basically. This award obviously embodies that. So our first nominee was Paris Trap Primarina. I brought this set in Week 7 against the Chicago Toros as a way to utilize Primarina's defensive capabilities in that matchup, but to also trap Toxapex, which is a Pokemon that I knew I could beat, but I was not wanting to. Uh, I wanted to be able to find a way to kind of bait it and beat it easily without having to basically play around the defensive game. And I think Parastrap Primarina did that. It did that in that match. It came out. It worked well. And on top of that, Primarina also just had tons of utility in that match with its defensive typing. So, yeah, I think it's a good nomination. Personally, obviously, I'm going to say that it's my Pokemon. Our next nominee is Iron Defense Agility Corviknight. This was brought week 5 against the New Jersey Jinx, I believe. And I remember actually helping prep with this set because I was like, dude, like Corviknight behind Aurora Veil just doesn't die to anything on his team. Like you can just set up easily. And his team was super. I remember the New Jersey Jinx, they were a pretty fighting weak team as well. So like just being able to not die and just set up agility, iron defense body presses, and just being able to kill most of the opponent's team and be faster than a lot of them while also not dying, I think was just like I was like, yeah, this set just works. This set goes crazy, and I did really well. I think I got 3 kills that week. Definitely a very creative set that yours truly helped engineer. So I have 2 sets up here. Okay, let's be real. And I'm just kidding. Um, I don't want to take credit where credit is not due, obviously. Our third nominee is Pain Split the Ox of Speed. I love this set. When I saw this set, I was like, yo, this is crazy. This is a fun set. Brought by Yi, as I said a few times already. He's one of the more creative coaches in the league by far. And this set was cool. Had some good utility. I believe it was against Vanny, the Diamond Defenders, one week. week 7. And it just got a lot out. The early game, it just got a lot of value. Was weakening opponents, came in, got up hazards, but then was staying alive. And that's not something you see the Oxus Speed do a lot because it's not a very bulky Pokemon. But running that pain split, being able to recover a lot of the Oxus Speed HP, but also weaken your opponents, very, very cool idea. And obviously it worked out for that. So I think definitely a very fun creative set that I enjoyed personally seeing this season. And with that being said, your SADL Season 1 winner for most creative set is Parish Trap Primarina. I have this set posted here. This is the full set I ran. So obviously, um, you see defense with a little bit of speed, the Whirlpool, the Parasong, the substitute to avoid the toxic, and Draining Kiss to stay healthy. Yeah, obviously, like I said, this set was I think was a cool set I liked because I was like, this is a great way to just bait in Toxapex. Like Toxapex is something that I'm gonna have to not necessarily struggle to beat, but something I just want to get rid of, and basically let my opponent, or let the rest of my team do well against. So being able to punish that with this set I think was really cool and really fun. It was a set that I kind of was, even when I drafted Primarine, I was like, I have to try to bring this 1 week. It gets Parasong. Parasong is a cool move that can be hard to utilize, but having the Whirlpool with the Parasong I think is really cool. So obviously I think this is a great set. And anyways, our very last category, obviously the award show is drawing to a close, is best pickup, and this award is for the best Pokemon that was picked up, that was basically went undrafted. Undrafted Pokemon that was picked up at some point during the season through a free agency or a trade. And obviously, a lot of these Pokemon have done very well this season, so I think these are actually really good nominees. Our first nominee is Toxapex of the Chicago Toros. As you saw, this Pokemon actually won a Pokemon of the Week voting 1 week because it was just that good. Like, this was actually a big turning point through the season for Tanner when he picked up this Pokemon. He just had an immediate impact in a lot of his games. So I think that's a great nomination. Our next nominee is Tornadus and Carter, the Anchorage Beartics. This Pokemon, yes, this is another Pokemon that just was really good. Had a few really good weeks, and also some creative uses by Wumples. It's very exciting to see this Pokemon be picked up as a Terra Captain that went undrafted. One of the better Terra Captains as well, and have a great impact on his season. And then our last nominee is Raikou of the Minnesota Glow Kings. Yeah, and Board Addict uses Pokemon extremely well this season. It's been actually very big for him in playoffs. Um, and he used it pretty well throughout the regular season after picking it up. So obviously, all these Pokemon have had huge impacts on their teams after being picked up. And the winner of the SADL Season 1, sorry, Best Pickup Award goes to Toxapex of the Chicago Toros. Once again, one of the awards I kind of expected was going to go to a Pokemon. This wasn't that surprising because this Pokemon was so huge for this team. It really basically put them into contention because I think before this pickup, I think this team was winless, and it got to the point where it was playing for playoff spot. I think at the last week of the season, it was still playing for that playoff spot because of this Pokemon. It was so big in a lot of its matchups. Had a lot of just defensive utility, was poisoning things, was staying alive, was stalling out physical attackers, was chilling water. It was just a great pickup by Tanner and the Chicago Toros in that midseason last deadline pickup, and it just was a huge impact for him and the outcome of his season. So by far, I think very deserving of this award. By far the best winner. I mean, the best pickup that we've had this season. Um, so yeah, with that being said, that is all of our awards. Yeah, there's no more slides. So that's all of our awards for the SADL Season 1. I thank everybody for joining. All of my coaches, obviously, if y'all are here watching this, um, I appreciate y'all showing up. I appreciate y'all participating in this season. This pretty much wraps up the season. The finals match was played yesterday. If you are not in the league, or not one of the coaches, you've been following the league or anything like that, I'll have that video up later so you can see the conclusion. But this basically on paper wraps up everything to do with the SADL Season 1. Moving forward, I'll probably take like a 1 or 2 week break, and then I will get back into prepping for SADL season 2. I have big plans for SADL season 2. I'll make a video announcing all the changes as well as starting signups, and hopefully everything goes well. I'm surprised SADL season 1 went so well. It was phenomenal. I enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know a lot of you guys have told me about how much you've enjoyed being in the league, how much it's taught you, how much it's made you better. So I appreciate that, hearing that from you guys. So with that being said, hopefully season 2 is we build upon our success in season 1 and season 2, and hopefully you guys will come and stick around for that. I appreciate all of you guys for joining me tonight and joining me this season. I will see you guys later. So with that being said, I'm going to end the stream right here. Everybody who watching, have a good night, and I'll see y'all around. So.